Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and I know I'm not in a sports jersey tonight, but I wore this shirt to work today, and I was like, man, these cactuses, they're very fun, they're kind of prickly, but you can't quite trust them, just like you can't trust Kuon in this series. So I was like, I really didn't want to take this shirt off. I wore it to work and I was like, I really like this shirt. I want to keep it on. And I was like, I'm going to watch Blue Lock tonight. There's little blue locks inside of it. So that works. It translates. Maybe. But yeah, oh my God. Last episode, Kuon, the betrayer. Just Kuon, the betrayer. Just can't trust him. And now it's like Team Z is in this very precocious situation because it's like, well, it's 4-3. They have 20 minutes to score 2 goals to win, at least 1 goal to tie it up. I don't exactly remember what happens if they tie. Has that been talked about? I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I feel like maybe they'll do like a sudden death or something if they tie goals. But I have a feeling that it's not just gonna be something like, oh well, we'll do overtime. There's gonna be some crazy rule that Ego's come up with, and so we'll just go with that. Maybe I'm cosplaying as Henri with Ego's glasses. Maybe we'll do that. But yeah, so I've got some comments I want to talk about before we dive into this episode, because I am super excited to know what the hell's gonna happen now that we've had this betrayal. Like, I feel like Bachira and Kunigami and Isagi, and maybe if Raichi can calm down for 5 seconds, Raichi, they could all team up together and stop the other team and then put Kuon in a corner and leave him there. Although I'm very curious what's going to happen with Kuon if they win this match. So, and I don't know, maybe they'll forgive Kuon. Maybe they'll understand why Kuon did the things that he did. Maybe Kuon will have a come to Jesus moment with them. Who knows? We'll have to see. But to talk about the comments that I have, Tamir2521 talked about the way in episode 4 that Kunigami asked Chigiri for the stir fry was done in a very similar fashion to proposals in Japanese culture. And so I've noticed a bunch of people in the comments and on the Discord have been shipping like Kunigami and Chigiri, and I was like, why? They've not really had any moments together except for the ED, but that all makes a lot of sense. And Seppi kind of acknowledged that too, saying the way that Kunigami say, I'm honored that you picked me, is like a Japanese confession. And I was like, oh. I don't really, the way I told everybody in the comments with shipping that I'm doing is that I just kind of want to like, just explore. I'm being bi-curious with my ships. Honestly, I view this series kind of like I view Free in terms of shipping in the sports anime. In Free, I'm like, it's just a giant polycule and everybody's just shipped together in this big mass. You go with this person, now you go with this person. I feel like Blue Lock's gonna be the same way. Isagi's gonna have his harem, and then they all are like, they're all couples within the harem. It's kind of like Kuroko's basketball, although Kuroko's basketball is like the most shipping per capita of any sports anime I've ever seen. So I don't know if anything can compare to that. I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see, Blue Lock, if you can match it eventually. We'll see. Seppi also notes that Kunigami plays another lawful good character playing Watson in Moriarty the Patriot. And I was like, so that's cool. Kunigami, and he also plays Kagami, who's kind of a lawful good, I guess, character. So plays by the book somewhat. So that's interesting to note. K.A. said that Okamura's, or Okama's voice actor, Okawa, get his name right, Yellow Mohawk. Okawa's voice actor is also Yuki from Given, which is cool. Natsuo Todoroki from My Hero Academia, and has also played characters in Sasaki de Miyano, Moriarty the Patriot, and Spy Family. So a pretty well-known voice actor playing Okawa, so that's cool. And then finally, Wim talks about a couple things. Wim noted that Isagi showing humility by not celebrating with the other team, but instead going to the team that lost and taking that moment to realize that people were just like him. I was talking to Wim in the comments saying that it felt very much like Isagi was confronting, in episode 5, confronting the part of them that had died, technically, as he was being reborn, quote unquote, and was confronting the version of him that had lost that game right before the series started, and was like, these people are all representative of how I was, and now I'm growing and evolving into something more than what I was. And it's kind of cool, right? I think that there's a delicate line, because I've heard people have kind of taken, you know, some of the thematic stuff in this series and either don't jive with it or completely jive with it. And I think here, it is important that Isagi understands, and as Wim said, processing the consequences and the dark reality of winning and losing. Like what happens when you win and what happens when you lose. And are you self-aware of both sides of the situation? And I feel like that's really important to bring up in this episode, because with Kuon, I don't think Kuon is considering the dark reality of the consequences of his actions. He's just like, I've got to do this to survive, but there's so much more to it that like it's gonna lead to some other stuff. So I'm like, what are we gonna do about that, Kuon? I guess we're gonna find out maybe in this episode, maybe not, right? And then finally they said that the author, I thought it was one mangaka who created this whole series. No, it was actually two authors. There's an author, Kaneshiro Muneyuki, and then the illustrator is Nomura Yusuke is the illustrator. And Yusuke, Nomura is the one that used to illustrate for Attack on Titan as an assistant to Isayama. They've also illustrated from 2014 to 2017 Dolly Kill Kill, which is a horror manga, which explains, I mean, perfect for working on Attack on Titan and perfect for working on this, right? So that's exciting. But yeah, really good comments for these last few episodes. I really look forward to them. I'm going to tell Huckleberry to go lay down. He's about like a blue lock demon dog. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into this episode and see what all we get. I'm very curious, y'all. It's gonna be interesting, but I'm super excited about it. So we're not gonna waste any more time. We are gonna dive right into this episode of Blue Lock and see what we get. So with that being said, we are going to, oh, you know what? We can't dive into Blue Lock yet. I just realized something very important to note, that at this point in the series with Team Z, I can't believe I nearly forgot, y'all. But at this point in the series with Team Z, the stakes are high, and our poor boys, it looks like they could possibly lose. But you know what? In other sports anime, you may possibly lose as well, and you have to overcome it. And what better example of that than the anime here? Everybody, it's Romania Black, and when I'm not nearly forgetting to create Ace of the Diamond ads, I'm often thinking about players on sports anime teams that have injuries and have self-doubt about themselves and are wondering if they'll ever be able to play the sport again. And you know a sports anime that has a character just like that? Ace of the Diamond. Yes, in this series we have sweet, sweet, saintly Chris, who struggles from an injury and is wondering if he's going to ever play baseball again. But thanks to the precocious antics of Ace Sawamura, it gets Chris back in good spirits and back to fighting for his right to be a catcher again. So, when you're done with Blue Lock and watching Isagi motivate Chigiri, you can come and watch Ace the Diamond and see that very same dynamic done in the best sports anime ever. Now, back to the reaction. I was so hyped up for this episode, I nearly forgot to reference Ace of the Diamond. That's the power! The Kool-Aid is sinking in! It's seeping into my system! No! That's where we are now. That's what Blue Lock has caused for me. How dare it? How dare it? So, I can't believe I nearly forgot Ace of the Diamond. The Kool-Aid is doing its duty. What can I do? So, we're now going to start the reaction to Blue Lock episode 7, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go, y'all. Oh, Chigiri, sweet, sweet Chigiri, how I love thee. He kind of had like a little bit of like a Poppy Yandere vibe at the end when he was like, it's me. And I was like, oh. So this was an interesting episode, and I am so, glad that they were able to tie it up. I will give Blue Lock this. There are definitely elements of Blue Lock that I feel are going to maybe turn some people off because you're used to the Nakama formula of sports anime. And I'm one too. I love Kuroko's basketball, and it is just like Nakama central. It's like Care Bear stare with the Nakama. Kuroko is a Care Bear that walks around and just Care Bear stares all of his opponents throughout that series, and I freaking love it. But I will give Blue Lock props in that it does not back down from its message. It's like, no, we're still about this, don't get us wrong, but it is elaborating and evolving that principle from what it looks like on the surface. Because on the first surface, you're like, oh, everybody's just in it for themselves. No, that's Kuon. That's Kuon. Kuon's in it for himself. And how he thinks it's not going to backfire is astonishing to me. At this point, the team thinks that there's just 10 of them. They're like, well, he's useless. So I'm still curious what he's going to do next episode. Are they just going to tie Kuon up? Are they just going to bench him? What are they going to do? Because he's not going to help them. He's going to try to hog the ball for himself. And that's going to be detrimental to everything. So it's like, what do we do with him? You know? What do we do with Kuon? And so that's going to be the big question, I guess, for next week. But here, it's like Kuon is the embodiment of what the one-man show could be, but the show itself is evolving and elaborating that idea beyond what we would traditionally think, which is really cool. I mainly brought Whiteboard Kuon out for the scoring and for the whole match and tie things to kind of see where we're at here and see how good we can do. That's mainly what this is for. But we need to go through this episode and talk about old Chigiri. Man, we focus a lot about Chigiri in this episode and his past and his strengths and his fears and everything. And I really like what they do with Chigiri's character. I really, really enjoy it. I like the idea. First of all, Kunigami is responsible for basically being a peacekeeper for the entire team, and mainly him just like holding Raichi back, which, you know what, I gave Raichi a hard time for yelling. In this episode, I don't give him a hard time because he has every right to yell at Kuon. Kuon deserves every bit of it. But what's interesting is Kunigami says he is like has two older siblings. They're both sisters. Usually the younger sibling is the rambunctious, rowdy one, and he is like dead mature and serious. So maybe his sisters are rowdy and he had to like be the calm, mature one. Or maybe they're all calm, mature, and lawful good. Maybe, but I just feel for Kunigami having to like hold him back. Bless him. Do you want a red card? I like how everybody handles this situation a little bit differently. Kunigami is trying to maintain order. Makes sense. Raichi wants to just freaking slaughter Kuon. Makes sense. Bachira is probably the one that surprises me the most. And I guess the more we get with Bachira's character, the more I'm impressed with him as a character. Because Bachira on the surface, back in episode 1, I was like, oh, he's a loose cannon. Oh, Bachira is going to be one that we have to watch. Bachira is going to be somebody that causes trouble. No. Bachira is like one of the most level-headed characters in this series. He's crazy, but in like the most calm and mature way possible. He is. He just is like, okay, so you betrayed us. Okay. And I guess that's kind of, I feel like when we just got to meet Nagi and Rio from Team V at the end of this episode, I feel like their attitude is most similar to Bachira's. It's like there's crazy there, but it is a controlled crazy, and it is a well thought out crazy. And I'm on board with that. Sure, why not? But I feel like Bachira's attitude is the most like Nagi and Rio's. We'll see if that holds true or not. But yeah, Isagi, man. Isagi this whole episode was so adamant that he just didn't give up, right? And that's something that's really, really cool about Isagi in this series so far, is that back when he was like a team player, it always felt like Isagi was being held back by all of these people around him. Like his coach was telling him what to do, his teammates were telling him what to do, and Isagi was so pressured to try and appease them that he wasn't focusing on what his own, heart and soul was telling him to do. He was trying to do what someone else was saying. And now that Isagi has found out that he has a weapon that is dependent upon him making the decisions for himself and others, rather than him be the one taking orders, it's kind of flipped the switch a little bit. And so Isagi's kind of like running around being like, well, I have to do something. I have to try my best. I've got to do this. I can't wait on somebody else to help. I have to do this now. Which is not a bad mentality to have, because yeah, sometimes if you wait on help to come, it don't come. So good for him for taking initiative. But it's just, I like that they've established that his weakness is, yeah, he can smell a goal. Yes, when things are right, he can figure out where to take the ball, but he can't do it on his own. That's why. But here's the thing. Soccer is not an individual sport. It is a team sport in the end. We're just making individuals that are going to be strong enough to lead their teams to victory is kind of it. It's basically like this is an ace camp. and we're basically developing the best aces we can so that they can go back and help their team grow and set examples, right? It's like Isagi during the practice game, during their practice, that one episode a few weeks back where he was like, I think it was episode 4, or maybe it was episode 5 when he was reborn. He's like, I'm not going to skip practice, I'm going to keep going. And it motivated his team to join him. That's the kind of mentality that you take back to your team, and it fosters that same growth, right? Man cone though. But 12 on 10, it's just like, and Asagi's like not giving up. And man, give Lemon credit. Give Lemon credit where credit is due. Man sprung his finger getting that ball out of there. I hope that his finger's okay. They didn't draw any attention to it, but it looked like it was like bending it back. And I was like, oof. I'm hoping that his finger was fine. I hope it's okay. But it's a nice little foreshadowing there that Lemon, even though, or Iman, however you want to say it, even though he was potentially putting himself in danger, he still did it because he knew that he could. He knew it was going to be fine. So he just acted in that moment. And it's going to come back for Chigiri a little bit later on in this episode. So yeah, so they talk about that if we get a goal and level the score, right? Because what ends up happening is 1 win, 1 loss, 1 tie is 4 points. So he gets this goal there, and it basically says that if it's a draw, then here's how it goes, right? Okay. So we technically have, do you have Team X? Team X is about to lose this match. So they're going to be out because they lose to Team V, and the last match is against Z and V. So really, Team V is going to advance no matter what. They've beaten all their 4 teams. They're going to win. So it's not, they, at this point, even if they lose, they're the second team to win. So it's fine, right? So they're okay. Team Y is pretty much done if they lose their next round. Team X is out. At this point, we know Barrow is staying, but Team X is out. They lost that game against V, so there's no chance for them, I don't think. And so it's down to Z and Y. But even if Y wins, then if Team W loses, then it's like, so it's still not going to work, right? So I feel like Team Z has a very good chance of being one of the top 2 teams to stay because of that tie. I think that Team V is not going anywhere. And that's why they don't listen to Cone at the end. They're like, we've won every game. This will benefit. Even if we lose to Team Z on some random chance, what difference does it make to us? We're still going to be one of the top 2 teams. We've advanced already. It's over. So really, what's going to be interesting to see is if Team Z loses and if W and Y win or lose their matches. I don't think that Team Y is going to stay. And I don't think even if Team W, I don't think they're going to win against the other team, right? I don't think that's going to be a thing. So I don't know. That's going to be very interesting to see. I would like Team Z to win this final match against Team V and to like knock them off their pedestal as the dominating team. But it's Blue Lock. The odds of that happening, they seem like, I don't know, the nonchalance of Nia, of Rio, and Nagi. The nonchalance and that they had, we'll talk about it at the end of the episode, but it leads me to believe that they're freaking strong. And they're probably not a team to be messed with, so I'm like, I don't know about that. But yeah, so I think Team Z is in a good place. I think they're going to be one of the top 2 teams to advance. I hope so, but we shall see. And then, yeah, and then Chigiri is just hesitating, and Asagi's like, don't go. And I'm sorry, but that look that Chigiri gives, I'm sorry, but that is an Attack on Titan expression. The teeth baring like crazy look, that is an Attack on Titan expression, and there is no escaping it. I'm like, no. You can definitely tell that Nomura was Isayama's assistant. Like, he does take some of the facial expressions and apply them here. I'm for it, but it is so obvious. And then we go back to his past. Now, unfortunately, at Chigiri's high school, they suffered from shonen protagonist syndrome, where he's the only one with, like, bright-colored hair. Everyone else has the most drab hair. It's like, there's nobody with blue hair. It's a Kuroko syndrome, right? But what I like is that you have, it almost seemed like the Wanima brothers, they were like the top fish of a little pond. And they were reveling in the fact that they were the strongest of their crew, but they weren't really that strong. They were just like by association, they've been there kind of leading the pack. And then you have Chigiri show up, who has raw talent and is like, no, I want to lead us to the championship. Let's go. And if you guys aren't going to put up, if you're either put up or shut up, one of those. And then he shows his talents. And it's such an interesting thing because you don't normally get this in a sports anime, the situation where normally it's played off as an antagonist situation where this newfound prodigy player comes to this team and shakes things up and, you know, it says they're going to be the best. Usually it's framed as something like an antagonist would do, but not here with Chigiri. Chigiri's like, no, I'm going to lead us to victory because I can and I have the talent and I want it. You know, Chigiri reminds me a lot of Violet Chachki from, if we're going to talk RuPaul's Drag Race, that comes in and goes, oh, I'm going to be the winner. There's no question. Like that confidence, right? Has that same vibe. Now, Violet Chachki did not suffer a torn ACL, but had that same mentality of, I'm just going to be good. And the thing about it is, they call him out for being cocky. The two brothers do. They're like, well, don't just get cocky because the coach favors you. And Chigiri is just like, I don't care if your coach favors me. It's simply a matter of whether you have talent or not. Which of course makes the brothers like very angry because that's insulting them. But they're kind of the ones that call Chigiri out first, right? Chigiri's just minding his own business. He just wants to play soccer and be really good at it and lead his team to victory. And he's like, what's wrong with that? Just because I'm good, I don't see what the problem is. And it's the two brothers who are jealous and, you know, are insecure because here comes this guy that's really good and threatens their place in the hierarchy. Chigiri doesn't care about the hierarchy. He's like, hierarchies are stupid. Let's just play, let's just win, and let's just go. Like, quit making this more difficult than it is. And I kind of like that. I like that Chigiri reminds me a lot of, he reminds me a lot in this moment of May from Ace of the Diamond, where he's like, I'm just good. And if you can't be on my level, then tough luck, I guess. It kind of reminds me of that, like Chigiri's personality and his attitude about being good, I appreciate because he's not like being a jerk. He's not being cocky like these two brothers say that he is. He just has a goal and he's working towards it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But man, and then the little baby Chigiri with his little chubby arms. It's so freaking cute. I like to imagine that he started growing his hair out once his injury took place because, you know, he didn't have to keep his hair short. He didn't have to keep his hair short for the game, right? And so everybody interviews him and he's like, oh, well, I mean, this is nothing special. I can do more. And everybody's all about him. But that's the thing. He didn't care about the accolades that came with it. Kira! I couldn't think of Kira's name throughout the entire damn episode. I was like, who's that guy? We don't even remember him. He's dead news. Get him out of here. No, Kira. Kira is a great example of the opposite of Chigiri. In the first episode, Kira was like, praise me. I'm the Jim of Japan Soccer League. I'm this national hero, blah, blah. And then he couldn't hold up. And Chigiri here, he doesn't care about the accolades. He doesn't care about the girls. He doesn't care about the notoriety. He just, soccer and his ability to run really fast and be good at it is his identity. It's what is him. It like comprises who he is as a person. And that's kind of one of the points of Blue Lock is that it's talking about not, you know, victory as a reward or victory as fame or victory as an accolade. It's not that. It's the idea that victory is a part of who you are and it's a part of your identity, and doing well and being successful is just a part of what you identify with and relate to and want on like a primal level. That's like what Blue Lock's tapping into, which I really appreciate. I think the way they go about it is smart. And then him talking about becoming the best striker and having that smile. It's weird seeing Chigiri with that smile that he gets in the flashback and then at the very end of the match. It's so bizarre because you're not used to seeing Chigiri like this, right? And then he tears the ACL. And oh my God, the way they show it. Oh, I'm sure in the manga it looks much worse. But I'm glad for the sake of us that they don't show it to us in that graphic detail. But I know people that have torn their ACL. It's not a fun time. Nope. I like that we see his mom. He's kind of like just got a different hairstyle from his mom, but his muscles is different. And that's why he's so good at sprinting. He has unique muscle structure. But it's that tear. And so I like the idea that we go through Chigiri's like mentality and what he is afraid of and what's holding him back. And of course, they have to represent it with the locks, right? The thing about it is, I could see a lot of people, I was thinking about this during the episode and the reaction, I could see a lot of people kind of coming up in arms about Chigiri continuing to play when they're like, oh, but what about his injury? Like, is it smart for us to let him keep playing? Is that a good decision or not? Here's the thing. He goes through the therapy. They show him going through the rehab, going through therapy, going through all the procedures. He followed everything to a T and did everything he was supposed to. And you see him be so frustrated through the process because he's like, I'm going through rehab. I'm doing what I'm supposed to. I'm doing everything by the book because I want to do it right. And so I don't feel like it's a bad thing for him to play on it. I kind of view it this way. There's a character in Ace of the Diamond named Chris who injures himself and has kind of the same threat that he may not be able to play again, but he keeps on. I feel like there are two examples that people could probably compare this to: Chris from Ace of the Diamond and Tepe from Kuroko's Basketball. And I feel like this is more of a Chris scenario than it is a Tepe. In Tepe's situation in Kuroko's Basketball, he has the option to have this important surgery that would fix the problem, but would keep him from playing in high school. And he chooses to not do the surgery so he can play in high school, even though there's a chance that he's going to make things really bad and he's not going to be able to play anymore. That's a little bit of a rash decision. And it's like, okay, you did the rehab and stuff, but, you know, they really recommended you do this one thing and you didn't do it. Here, it's not like Chigiri is skipping surgery. It's not like he's skipping on things that will help him. He goes and does the things that will help him. They just tell him, you know, if in the future you have another injury like this, there is a good chance that you won't be able to play soccer. So just, it's like a liability. They're just making you sign on the line being like, you know, we told you this, right? So if you keep playing, it's not our fault if you injure yourself, right? So that's what they're saying. But the fact that Chigiri goes through all the rehab, he goes through the motions, he does everything the proper way, I feel like it's fine now that he's playing on it. It's the idea of, do you live in fear your whole life that something bad that happened once is going to happen again? Do you let that limit your success in life and limit yourself in living? Or do you live your life how you want to in this case, and if it happens, it happens, but you're going to hope that it doesn't? One of those scenarios, right? But I feel bad for him. And I feel like everybody just kind of walks past him and call him the former genius. And I don't think he cares that they don't recognize him as much, but I think it bothers him that who he is as a player is being stifled. And yeah, we see him go through the motions and do everything, but he's so afraid. He's afraid of getting injured again. Not because it'll hurt. He's like, I'm not scared of wrecking my leg again. He's like, I got through that. He's like, I believed I could be the best player in the world. I'm scared of losing who I am. Because yeah, it's like when you do something and you love it, and suddenly there's the potential that that is going to be taken away, your instinct is to try to do everything in your power to keep that from happening. And in his case, he's like, I'm afraid if this leg of mine gets injured again, I won't be able to play soccer. And that's what hurts the most. The idea that I won't be who I am, right? And it takes Isagi being Isagi to bust him out of it. 5 more minutes. And I was like, he's like, if I just lose, and then after that, I won't have to chase my dream anymore. But then Isagi coming out of the woodwork to be like, that's stupid. Which I agree. Why not try? At this point, what could hurt you? And I love that Isagi keeps on trying no matter what. He just keeps on trying and doesn't give up. And he keeps trying to think of something to do. So when he goes through the options of who to pass to, right? He's like, what do I do? How do I break through? He's like, the first person he goes to is Bachara. Of course, the first person he goes to is Bachara. He's being guarded by every team has a gray-haired guy. Every team has a guy that looks like a little old man. And this one's the one marking Bachara, right? Number 4. And then he looks over. Kunigami is, of course, the second person he looks at. Kunigami has no space to take the shot, so he's out. And then Gin, he's like, I can't pass it to him. So he's like, we're all outnumbered. What do we do? And then Kuon tries to like get him to give up, and Isagi's like, never! And Raichi's like, what do we do? And they added 3 more minutes on. I feel like that was ego. I feel like ego was like, they're about to hit a breaking point. Put 3 more minutes on the clock. I feel like that was ego, right? He's like, I don't want it to end here. And then Isagi takes off and says he's gonna score. And he gets like the blue lock eyes and everything. But then Chigiri is like, what is he doing? Is he a moron? And Lemon's like, come on. Stop chasing the ball with that glint in your eye. Stop believing. And honestly, what's so great at this point is what I thought was going to happen. Because Chigiri's like, stop believing in yourself and playing soccer like that. And then when Isagi goes towards Chigiri and he's like, snap out of it and get the ball, Chigiri doesn't react fast enough. Chigiri's just like, what? Oh, I missed it. And then Isagi's like, then get out of my way. And so, yeah, it's like what you expect to happen is for Isagi to be like, hey, buddy, hey, you need to snap out of it. Get your head out of your ass and play the game. And instead, Isagi's like, move! And I can see some people looking at that scene and going, oh, well, that's bad. But no, I think that's actually, you know, Chigiri, sometimes, you know, it's like in Kuroko's basketball again, where Kuroko smacks Kagami on the face and he's like, snap out of it. It felt like one of those moments where Isagi was like, hey, whatever you're thinking in your head, snap out of it. I ain't got time for it. We got to win this game. Bye. If you're not going to help, then get out of the way. Like one of those moments. And that's what gets Chigiri to be like, how dare that peasant move me? That peasant pushed me. How dare? Screw you. He's like, if we lose, I can put it into this and I can give up soccer. And then Chigiri's like, he realizes that Isagi was just like him from back then. And he's like, what am I scared of? Am I scared? He's like, what am I scared of exactly? Why am I stopping this? He's like, am I scared of not being a genius? No. Am I scared of injuring my leg again? No. Am I scared of not being able to play soccer anymore? He's like, none of that really matters. Because he's like, if you don't try, then you'll never know. Like, if you just keep sitting in the wings, then yeah, then you're not going to be a genius. You're not going to play soccer again. You're not going to be able to use your leg again. So it's like, if you don't do anything, then yeah, you're going to deny yourself all of these possibilities, including the good ones. He's like, what I have to believe in, what I can't afford to lose is the rush I'm feeling watching you play. I love that, just that little screenshot of him with the lock and the blue coming out of it on his leg. That is such a damn good picture. I freaking love it. And then Kunigami's like just trying to like give as many pep talks as possible. And then Chigiri's like, you know what? If it tears, I don't care if this is my last play. I'm just going to do it. And God, it's so good. The best striker in the world is me. And his weapon. Yep. Oh my God. I love it. I love how fast Chigiri is. I love his weapon is his speed. That's so good. We have dribbling. We have a shot. We have sensing the goal. We have speed. We have a foursome that can get it done. Right? I'm here for it. I just love his hair like blowing in the wind. It's so glorious. It's beautiful. He's like, it's like I felt the first time. And then, yeah, him kicking and then running up to it. Also, that one brother tried to like kick his bad leg again. How dare you? Good thing he jumped over it. And then I love it. I love his hair blowing and then him having the braid and him kicking the goal to become the best in the world. Yep, they all want to be the best. It's great. I love Imamura on top of Lemon's back. That's great. And then Gin and Naruhaya shouting to the winds. Kunigami's like, yes. And then I love that Isagi walks up and he's like, oh my gosh, your legs are so great. Look at you. Good job. And Chigiri's like, well, you fired me up. You got me playing again. And he's like, I didn't know what was important to me anymore. But what it was the invincible guy I was before the injury is no more. But the guy I am now is the one that gets fired up. And even when I'm risking never playing soccer again. So he's like, I like Chigiri goes through this motion of saying, I have gone from being someone who thought they were invincible and being put in my place to me being like, I'm not invincible, but I'm going to keep playing like today's my last day. I like that dynamic. It goes from being invincible and thinking nothing can stop you to knowing that everything can stop you, but still playing anyway. Growth. Mwah. Love it. Friggin' love it. And this part's interesting when he's like, I want to put faith in the new version of me, which is great. I love that. And he thanks Isagi for giving him that faith to believe in himself again, you know, and do that. He's like, I'm going to run until this leg of mine no longer works. And Isagi's like, well, that's fun. And he says, let's fight together. And I like that Chigiri says together. He's like, Slowpoke, this is Blue Lock. Like, no. And here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The difference between Kuon and Chigiri in this moment is that Chigiri is like, look, we're not playing as a team. This is Blue Lock. We're all playing as individuals to make it to the top. But he grabs the hand. I like that it's not a shaking hands of equality, but it's a grabbing hands. It's grabbing the hand, not like shaking it like, oh yeah, buddy, old pal. It's, no, we're going to do this. And I love the idea of, I'm going to get a picture of that, where he grabs Isagi's hand and holds on to it. And he says, I'm going to become the best in the world. And Isagi's like, sure, give it your best shot, but it's going to be me. So it's like this unspoken, like we're all going to be the best versions of ourselves to try to be the best in the world and compete against each other while being on this team. I love it. I freaking love it. Yes, please. And then everybody like cheers around him. I like that Naraya has the hey, like such a cheesy, what a dad thing. You weren't just a selfish lady. I love they all call him a girl. It's great. He's like, if it wasn't for me, we'd have lost. And I love the Raichu's like, I'm still going to kill Kuon. What is this? And you know what? I do not condone violence, like them kicking Kuon over and over again. That's not cool. I'm glad Isagi stops them. But then that bitch went and tried to, I was like, Isagi like got them off of you. They were kicking you and he got them off of you. And you know what you did? You tried to sell them out to the next team. What a bitch. No. I don't know how Kuon is going to stay on this team. I have no idea. Like Kunigami and Isagi break up the fight. I have no clue how Kuon is staying after this. I don't know what the second selection is going to involve, but there is no way that they are staying. Like, Kuon cannot stay in this environment. I don't know what the hell is going to happen to him, but What's going to be interesting is if they go past the first set of games, what if the teams all get re-ranked? What if our people get split up? What if Kunigami and Chigiri and Bachara and Isagi get split up onto different teams the second go round? That's not going to be fun. I'm not going to think about that till after the V game, but I don't know, man. And then, yeah. So we find out that Team V in match 8 beat Team X 5-2. So, oof. I'm going to guess that Baro caused the victory for them then. So, yeah. So they're like, we had a miracle we were draw. Bachara shows off his booty. Coming out naked in the shower. I will say the anatomy on Bachara in that scene is really weird. It's a very weird anatomy moment. I don't know why, but he looks like a nutcracker doll. He looks like a nutcracker doll, and that's all I can say about it. I don't know what else to say. And then Raichi's the one that notices that Isagi is not the one to play one-on-one. He usually needs other people supporting him as backup, which is interesting. So yeah, then they realize that all we gotta do is win. But then we see Kuon trying to sell information like a snake oil salesman to Team V. And they are not having what he is putting down at all. So I like the 3 members of Team V that we instantly meet. We have, in this one moment, we have Zentetsu, who's looking very serious and has ate all of his steak like a good boy. We have Nagi, who's just fiddling with the steak and he's not hungry and he's barely ate it. Don't judge me. And then we have Rio, who has his nasty bare feet on the table. Get your bare feet off, you slug. What are you doing? Ew. People have to eat on that. And Rio's like, how boring. I love that they're all watching. There's no merit in what you are proposing. So Zentetsu's like, nothing that you say has any merit. It's not worth anything. The priority of this business is the initiative method. I like that he looks like, he looks like from Hunter x Hunter. He looks like Leorio from Hunter x Hunter, where he's got the glasses and he looks like a lawyer. Yes, he's scores 5 goals. Ah, okay. 223rd. This is the crazy thing. Team V is the strongest team out of all of them. They are still at the bottom of the barrel. What? So, yeah. He's scored 5 goals so far. Okay. He's like, did I use those words right? Then you have, oh, knock it off, you half-wit. I instantly wanted to ship Rio and Nagi because he's got like he's doing the little head pats for Nagi. And if you've watched Kuroko's basketball, it almost looks like Nagi's kind of like Murasaki Bara a little bit, where he's kind of lazy and seems kind of lazy. And then Rio has like the Himuro hair. He's just missing a beauty mark and it being black. But Rio is interesting. Let me get a little bit of here. Rio seems kind of crude. Like he seems very crude. He doesn't have good manners. He's just kind of cute. He's like, I hate lame guys and boring guys. The fact that he likes Nagi then, even though he seems lazy there, means that Nagi is not boring or lame. We'll talk about Nagi in a second. But he's the score 6 goal. Yeah, he scored 6 goals. Yes, Mikage Rio, and you're both. I'm like, big sis Rio. Mm-hmm. His expression there is terrifying with the like half lazy eye. Thing is like, whatever, Rio, I can't be bothered with this deal. Yes. And Nagi Seishiro has scored 7 goals. Oh, wait. He's the top ranked player in building 5. Of course he is. Of course he is. Of course this Kira lookalike. He's the one I thought was Kira, is Nagi. Now, Nagi is like Snake, right? Is like a snake. Here's my theory here. Snakes oftentimes they get cold easily, and when they get cold, they're like lethargic and they're like, eh. So my thing is, when he's not playing soccer, he's just like this. I don't know what to do, Rio. Give me some steak. I'm not that hungry, but I'm kind of hungry. What's going on? Isagi, are we going to be a ship? I can't imagine we're pitting the top player of Team V against our main protagonist. What? And he has light blonde hair just like Kira did, and that was instantly shippable with our blue-haired protagonist. What? I want to ship Leo and Nagi, but I have a strong feeling that the snake-like, lethargic, when he's off the field personality, but is going to be like a freaking demon on the field, is going to be a perfect balance to our bright-eyed and bushy-tailed murder child that is Isagi. So, I'm so excited. But yeah, he's just like, I'm just so bored with how lame you are. Now, here's the thing. They do a very good job of prefacing how strong these guys are, because one, they seem nonchalant, and people that are usually badass don't have to brag about it. It's just part of them. Like Chigiri, it very much is Chigiri's mentality from the past, where Chigiri was just like, you're just good. If you're good, you're good. And it's not a big deal. And to these guys, they're good enough. It's not a big deal. Right? And the other thing is the fact that he doesn't finish his steak means that he's had a lot of steaks. So it doesn't bother him if he doesn't eat it all. Now the other guy's like, I want one of those steaks. I want to let this food go to waste. But you know, So yeah, they're so nonchalant. They're going to be a lot of trouble. I don't know if our boys can beat them, but we'll see. Right? But yeah, they just seem completely nonchalant. And then Rio gives him a piggyback. Rio is like I said in the reaction, Nagi reminds me of, like, he has the mentality of Akashi, where he's just like, is this what being weak is like? Winning is just as easy as breathing. Is this what that's being like? I don't even know. The thing about it is, the thing that I do like about Nagi in comparison to Akashi, though, is Akashi had, like, an inferiority complex in that series and was constantly, like, throwing out victory and blah 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 as like a defense mechanism. And here Nagi doesn't really do that. He's just, that's why I say like he kind of reminds me of Akashi, but he also reminds me of Mei from Ace of the Diamond, where Mei's just like, we're just good. What of it? Except he's not as diva-ish as Mei. He's not as condescending as Akashi, and he's just almost as too chill as Murasaki Bara. He's like a combination of the three of them put together, and that's such a weird combo to me. But I really like Nagi so far. I think he's fascinating. I want to know more about him. Ryo seems like a major delinquent. I want more of him. He seems like he's going to be like toxic sludge. And then poor Zentetsu seems like the... Here's the thing! Oh my god! Zentetsu is the Kunigami equivalent for their team. And then Ryo is the Bachira equivalent of their team. Either the Bachira or the Chigiri equivalent. And on their team, you have Nagi, who is Isagi's. Oh my god, Nagi and Isagi. It rhymes. Oh, they're finishing each other's sandwiches already. He's their equivalent. And he's like, why is this guy so desperate? And it's like he wants to win. He's like, what's that feeling like? Uh-huh. Interesting. And that's when Isagi shows up, and they're like a damn West Side Story thing. They just like step on the scene, snapping their fingers, pulling out their switchblades, being like, we're Team Z, and we're gonna face you tomorrow. Don't listen. They're like, don't let that asshole represent us. I love it. He's like, we're not gonna let that asshole represent who we are. We're the 10 you're gonna face. I like that Imamura has his hair all coiffed. He's like, yeah, I'm looking great. I love it. It's great. Bachira's just like, hey, what's up? What's up, man? It's great. So yeah, and then we have the little extra. And the extra with Chigiri, I see why you guys ship him and Kunigami together. Because he's like, why don't you use the hairband? And it makes him look even more girly. And he's like, oh, well, I have an older sister and a young... Oh, so he's the middle child, not the younger child. Ah. And then Chigiri's like, who do you call a young lady? And Kunigami is like, oh, this makes you look very nice. And then he tosses it away. He's like, everyone's waiting on you so the meeting can start. And then I love that the ones waiting on it, it's like Gurimu and Raichi and Isagi are like, why are you taking so long to get your hair ready? Love it. So yeah, so I'm glad we at least tied the game. I'm glad that Team W got to taste a little bit of the tea from Chigiri. That was good. I already love Ryo, Zentetsu, and Nagi. I want more of them. I'm so excited to see more of them. I want to see their dynamic. Very excited about that. I cannot wait to see what happens next with this series. But y'all, Blue Lock, I'm drinking the blue Kool-Aid. I'm so ready to see what happens. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below about Kuon and his betrayal, and about Chigiri and his beauty. And I know people are going to want to talk about Nagi and Ryo Zentetsu. I know y'all are going to want to talk about them, but please don't give me any spoilers or hints or clues of things to come. But just, I'm curious to know your first impressions from this episode. That'll be good to know. So, in the meantime, I hope y'all, I didn't even use Whiteboard Coon, but he was here for moral support. And my dog now wants me to throw this ball to him. So, he's being as persistent as Isagi. And I should probably reward that to him. He'd do great on Blue Lock. Huckleberry would make it to the final round. He would. He's a naturally born striker. So, Whitebird Coon and I hope you have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll be back real soon with more Blue Lock. And maybe we'll use Whiteboard Coon next week. Bye.